Hello again, everyone, and welcome to today's second session. The title is The Effects of COVID-19 on the Tent Rental Industry Supply Chain. Today's presentation is brought to you by Michael Tharp of Rainier Industries. What lessons can we learn from a worldwide pandemic and its effect on the tent rental industry? Michael's presentation will take a look at tent rental company losses, response recovery, bringing product back into inventory, and explain how tent suppliers responded to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a reminder, you can use the Q&A tab to submit questions directly to the presenter during the session, and they will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Recordings of all of today's presentations will be made available in the coming weeks. I want to extend, again, a special thank you to Sumbrella, who have generously sponsored all education sessions taking place today and Monday. We're grateful for Sumbrella's support of IFAI's educational endeavors. Check out their sponsor lounge on the map and chat with representatives in between sessions and during the Showcase Supplier Hour at the end of today's activities. So with all of this said, I'll now bring Michael onto the stage and get things going.
It worked.
Hey, all right. I'm going to go ahead and remove John Tavano. Apologies, John. I bet you didn't think you were doing a presentation today. All right, Michael, go ahead and share your screen and we should be good to go. Good.
Good morning, everyone. I appreciate everyone coming into the seminar today. It has been a very educational process so far. I'd be remiss if I didn't want to once again thank our education sponsor for providing the sponsorship for these educational programs that we'll have over today and Monday. I also want to remind everyone that during your breaks or your time off that basically you can visit the workplaces that they have or sponsorship lounges, and I encourage everyone to do so. I'm Michael Tharp. I'm with Rainier Industries out of Tukwila, Washington. We've been serving the tent industry since 1896. We actually got our start in the tent industry by building tents for the Alaskan gold rush. They seem to have a tent up there in order to allow them to go into the gold rush area. So we supplied wall tents for those over a number of years and still supply those today. I got my start basically with the tent industry about 25 years ago in 1996. And I was also able to work with the Zone 4 Canvas Product Association for a number of years, where I got acquainted with many, many more people in the industry, which kind of broadened my horizons as far as fabric that's being used in there and the suppliers and the supply chains that support these industries. I have also been a strong advocate, a safety advocate for the safe tent installations. I started a program at one of my former companies that's been in place since 1996, where we take and train tent installers. It's been a good program, and it's been held live in person for every year until COVID hit. As we all know, that is quite an experience for us. I'm the national sales manager or account manager with Rainier Industries, and I'm chairman of the IFAI TRD tent rental division as well. I have spent several years on other boards that support the tent industry, and that is the Mid-Atlantic Manufacturers and Tent Rental Association and the American Rental Association. The thing is what do we do at Rainier Industries? Basically, we're a company that has 5 major divisions that supply product to the marketplace. Our Rainier Shade division specializes in retractable awnings and power screens to change your home around, provide shade, save energy, and provide adequate ventilation. This division of our company actually increased its sales during the pandemic because let's face it, homeowners couldn't go anywhere. So the only thing they had to do is basically spend money on their home, and they took advantage of that very well. So that part of our company actually grew during this time frame. We have another division called Rainier Outdoor, which we build yurts, canvas cottage, canvas tents, and teepees. We have been providing those products since 1896, and our motto is live the adventure. This is another division that's actually grown during the COVID-19 pandemic, as basically a lot of the restaurants, a lot of the outdoor events were canceled. So we were using these for restaurant areas. Many of them are in place today so that they can social distance and provide safe places for people to eat. My division basically is a Rainier tent side of it. We supply large event tents, custom branded tents, covers, canopies, and anchors to do that that are simple to maintain and are durable to maximize the return on investment of all of our customers. Our Rainier Display Division, it's a division that specializes in grand format printing, branded environments, experimental marketing, and retail displays. A lot of the sports centers throughout the colleges and universities come to Rainier Display for us to revamp their introductory system to make it more attractive and attract more people to come to their schools. The other division is our Rainier Industrial Division. We make custom fabric solutions for the most difficult jobs and really challenging work conditions. We design, engineer, and build products that basically withstand the most rugged environments, whether it be on the land, in the sea, or in the air. So our presence is felt all over the world due to the markets that we serve. From our side of the business, basically, we fabricate, we cut, we sew, we seal. Over all the divisions, regardless of whether it's the display, the shelter, the shade, the graphics, or that division. Our manufacturing facility is set up like that. We can operate 24 hours a day if needed to meet these demands, etc. But COVID has created some issues with manufacturing that we'll go over a little bit later. To give you an idea of what the event industry forecast was, the previous COVID-19 forecast, this is supplied by the American Rental Association, that the revenues for 2020 were going to be in the 3.9 million range. That sounds quite a lot of area to draw from, but that was a rosy prediction based on everything that's been taking place. Our normal growth rate over the years has been anywhere from the 8 to 10% range. But when we went into 2020, everything was going to be rosy. Industry predictions show that we would be slightly above the economic impact or growth to the economy. And entering into the early part of 2020, most of the stores or rental customers that we were involved with had an increase in reservations, anywhere from 35 to 60% over 2019. That meant that was a great outlook for the suppliers to this industry. The industry demographics, as far as what we do, is we have tents, liners, linens, drapes, flatware china, wedding accessories, chairs, tables, tools, and decorations. It's widely covered, and it includes any products that could be used for any type of event, whether it had a tent in it or not, for any celebration, any corporate event, bar mitzvahs, festivals, graduations, and backyard parties. So the demographics of this industry is far and outreaching, and it provides a lot of avenue and a lot of resources for suppliers of raw materials for us in order to build to these markets. The markets we serve has to do with the wedding and venue aspect of it, corporate events, fairs, festivals, graduations, sporting events, backyard parties, gala affairs, medical, military, disaster relief, and governmental. Many of us did not really think about these until we had a disaster that takes place. During those time periods, a lot, including the military and medical aspect of it, basically, there's a great demand for these products. But with 2020, as it's come into place, every one of these divisions or markets that we serve, basically we're showing a great increase in potential to make more product. The big thing in a lot of these events is creativity was a key to show how one could do in creating the memorable events that are taking place through the industry. And it supplied a great opportunity for manufacturers and suppliers alike to get product out to the marketplace. As we moved forward, thank God it's Friday, March the 13th, 2020. Everybody was relishing in the fact that the successful ARA show, we had lots of pre-orders, manufacturing schedules were put into place, planned raw material purchase were put into place, new product introductions were successful. We were all feeling good about life and the future. Don't worry, be happy. But on this Friday the 13th, the two twins showed up. One that's happy, thank God it's Friday for tomorrow, and the other one that's scared, very, very scared. This Friday the 13th turned our world upside down. It destroyed all planned events, and our customers that purchased products from us lost roughly over 90%.
Michael, are you still with us? Okay, well, it looks like we lost Michael. Everyone hang tight. We'll try to get this figured out. Okay, everyone. I can't really explain what happened there because Michael was still online and still giving his presentation. However, he seemed to have disappeared from the stage. So let me bring him back up and we can get things moving again. All right, Michael, I just invited you up on stage. There we go. Michael, why don't you share your screen again and maybe step back a couple minutes or a slide or two, and we can pick up where you left off.
Okay. Did it come back up?
It did. It did. Sorry about that, everyone, but it looks like we're up and running now.
I'll go back to Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I apologize for the
Angie says
in the bill.
Angie says you had just wrapped up slide 8, Michael.
All the manufacturers that cater to the tent rental division, the IFAI, basically are members of the American Rental Association. And that show is generally held in early February every year, which everyone attends, and they bring their 4,500 member organization into that for not only equipment, but also tent and party rental supplies as well. This show was very successful for all manufacturers. We got lots of pre-orders from the show. We were able to come back during the February, early March timeframe and get our manufacturing schedules in process. We got our planned raw material purchases. We got new products introduced to the marketplace. Everybody was feeling good about life and the future. Don't worry, be happy. And basically at that point in time, the two twins showed up. One of them, as you can see, is fairly happy, and the other one is very, very frightened as far as what is going on to this world. So from that side of the business, we basically had to regroup and revamp what we were doing. And that created quite a bit to do because the world was turned upside down. Nobody knew how to react to it. All planned events were basically destroyed. We had no weddings that we could cater to, which that's where a lot of the linens and tables and et cetera that you see in the photos are, and including the tents. We had no street festivals, and we had no state fairs, and above all, we had no graduations. Graduations basically adjustment for a young high school kid coming out, or even a college kid graduating from college. That was all done kind of remotely. They would drive up in a car, get their appointment, and drive by again. Okay, we had a lot of reaction to these cancellations from that deal. The economic conditions played a big factor in this, what happened. These conditions created by the pandemic were far reaches and created somewhat of an attitude that people thought we had our head in the sand. Maybe it appeared that way, but we actually did not. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know how to react. We've never experienced anything like this pandemic has brought on us before. It affected our way of life, affected our ability to make a living. It affected everyone all the way around. And when you look at it, basically our production capabilities were brought to a halt. A lot of things were delayed. Stocking levels were cut because we wanted to survive what was going on. Our employees were greatly affected. Production was affected due to the COVID-19 quarantines, restrictions, etc. It also caused us a little bit to shift our capabilities of the ability to produce. Safety issues such as social distancing, disinfecting, and hand washing were brought to the forefront, and it was categorized and placed throughout the industry. Not only that, we had safety regulations and legal issues that we had to take care of. Those were brought to the forefront, and we had to learn how to react to those. In addition to that, our customers were affected by the codes and regulations that were placed on the industry during that time frame. And then everyone had to deal with the Department of Health, which created their own regulations to maintain that open air policy with social distancing, disinfecting, etc. The bad thing about that was these codes, regulations were basically not something that you could count on, look up on the internet and go to. You actually had to go to your own state or your own municipality in order to find out what those restrictions were. If you take a look at this after the first initial session of the first quarter of 2020, it showed that the projections were that we would lose 35% of the total overall business because of COVID-19. This is in comparison to the sales that took place in 2019. That is quite a drop in the focus and the stability for us to maintain and work towards. So how do we as manufacturers, or how do many of you as suppliers address this situation? That were things that we always had to work through. The big here now is manufacturers were basically looking at us as salespeople. I'm a salesperson, so I got to go now. They're waiting for me and my sales report in the torture room. How to handle the business was a top priority for us. And the juggling of production planning, inventory planning, and everything paid a toll on this immediate crisis. The decisions that we made during this process would affect our ability to produce in the coming months. Lead time of raw materials would increase dramatically, whether it be vinyl, aluminum, or metal. This made it difficult to forecast what would happen. Many of our customers, in reaction to the pandemic, were able to do hospital drive-through testing, temperature checks. That was a major demand for the product offering. Many of the hospitals were basically had to be larger because they had to install sprinkler systems, water, electricity, and everything had to be plumbed in correctly to meet code and also to protect the occupants of these facilities during the pandemic. The issue that you have there is these were all large structures. The government got involved in these situations, and a lot of these were put up. Not all of them were used from that standpoint. So those were maintained and set up for longer periods of time. And that created issues for some customers because of the demand for the style of tents for drive-through testing, temperature checks, and even drive-throughs for restaurants, etc., created a great demand in the marketplace for these products. It didn't matter which manufacturer it was, the demand for the product far outreached our capability to supply these products. So manufacturers too, during this time period, especially the first 3 months of the pandemic, we had to get busy and create other avenues of revenue to bring into our company. Number one, to manufacture product. Number two, to provide a safe environment for employees to work in. And number three, make sure we were available to assist everyone out there in addressing what has happened due to the pandemic. We basically had manufacturers that went and started manufacturing masks. We started manufacturing face shields. We had to also use germ and counter shields so that when you greeted that you could protect the people from those. Social distancing guidelines, that was decals, door decals, etc., that had to be put up. These also had to be put in the restaurant applications as well. So that created another avenue for us to look for a supplier to provide these products to us. The face shields were generally plexiglass type, the germ counter and shields are basic plexiglass materials. How can we get the supply of that? And then the face shields is regular basic vinyl that we already had in place until we ran out. And because every supplier faced the same situation that we did, that created somewhat longer lead times in getting the raw materials, and also somewhat longer lead times for us to have the capability or even the ability to produce. So that affected all of us. It also created an opportunity for us to go through to new marketplaces. Because of the demand for restaurants, vaccination tents, COVID check tents, schools, both private and public, all wanted 20 and 30 wide tents. Basically, these became the standard at that point in time. It didn't matter whether it was a college or a university or a restaurant. Basically, that's what the new norm was because it was a new market. Social distancing, again, for schools and everything came into place. They needed a place where they could bring people into and educate the students and make sure everything was in compliance with the Department of Health, etc. These were needed quite a bit. We also found that this new market had custom applications, as many restaurants had decks, and a standard tent or a standard product would not sit down on top of a deck. So we had to measure, build the custom product, and put a tent in these applications. Drive-through testing was basically 20 wide, 30 wide tents on 15-foot bays where you could drive a car through and have a doctor or a nurse handle your COVID test, or even give you vaccinations. There are more of these products sold in this time period than they have been before over the years. And, we had to supply materials, we had to get aluminum, we had to get metal, we had to get all the buckles and everything that go along with it. Those lead times were extended for us, and so we had to react to getting those. As I said earlier, the lead time for vinyl was extended, aluminum lead times were extended, steel was extended, production capacity was extended. As I said, the demand far outreached our capability supply. Our reaction to the demand was affected due to also productivity capabilities of our employees, the COVID-19. If employees were to get test positive for that, then we had to quarantine those employees, which could affect the total production line at that point in time. So everything had to be revamped, everything had to be regrouped. Some manufacturers even took the point of separating shifts out. That means alternating times that they come in with time allowed in between to disinfect and clean the areas up so that everybody would feel safe when they came into work. Most of the employers that were dealt with were very, very responsible or responsive to the effect that COVID-19 had on their employees and worked with them to help them work through these situations. The shift staggering was a mainstay, and that helped reduce the amount of contact that you had during the manufacturing process. So we had less people to produce, but people learned to work around that and work more productive and get the product out the door as quick as we could get it. Okay. Another Friday the 13th, the twins came aboard again for us. We had to react to that. It came back. This happened on November the 13th, 2020. With the rise in the COVID vaccines, the COVID-19, everybody was getting sick. We had more and more of them. Many of the government facilities says no gatherings of 10 or more. Bars had to close at 10 p.m. Restaurants had to close at 9 p.m. We had curfews put into place. We also had restrictions that were put on us by the Department of Health, which reduced our inability to supply product and also make sure that it was safe when it was put into place. Many of our restaurants that do that went to curbside service or basically closed down for the winter time. And at that point in time, meeting those restrictions and working around everyone that we had to do in order to get product out that got put into the marketplace, and even some of them that were coming back into the marketplace after being up for longer periods of times, that created issues as well. That meant as manufacturers and even as salespeople that basically we became consultants. That meant that we were.
Did the video just drop out for anyone else? I think it's gone for everybody again. Okay, sorry folks. I absolutely can't explain what happened there for the second time, but I'll go ahead and get Michael back on stage. All right, welcome back, Michael. We can see you now, we can hear you now, and your presentation is pulled back up. Sorry again, everybody, but thankfully we were able to get this corrected pretty quickly. Go ahead anytime you're ready, Michael.
Okay, I'm going to go back to when the twins showed up again. This happened on November the 13th, Friday the 13th, 2020. Our world came to a halt again. Basically, what happened, many states restricted gatherings of 10 or more due to social distancing and the rise in COVID-19. It meant the bars closed at 10 p.m., restaurants were closing at 9 p.m., curfews were put into place, and the Department of Health restrictions were also put into place to limit large gatherings of people, regardless of the type of event that it was. They even placed restrictions on the inside of the restaurants as well. And after this period of time, basically, the manufacturers became consultants to this industry. The industry was hit hard with the codes. They were hit hard with no business, and they were all searching for answers about how they could continue making money and keeping their businesses open and their ability to purchase product to supply to these customers that were out there. The pandemic, as I said, it created many, many issues. The biggest thing was open air restrictions placed on the Department of Health. That was pretty tough because every area of the country was different. Each state, each municipality had something that was different to do that. You could not do a fully enclosed tent at that point in time. However, as we worked forward through these restrictions with the local officials, et cetera, we were able to have the areas that were affected to basically let the AHJs make that decision to make sure that everything was safe and compliant. The sidewall issue was very, very difficult to get around for a while. And heating the tents also became an issue because the code says there's no open flame. So we had to switch to radiant heaters, which created another supply and demand issue from that standpoint. And then tents got to be used for longer term installations. In other words, restaurants or drive-through pickups at restaurants like Chick-fil-A, et cetera, like that. All of a sudden, because they were going to be up longer, and during the winter months, each thing had to be snow loaded. Some of those restrictions were able to go around as long as everyone had a snow plan in place. So basically, our market itself experienced two big downfalls. Although during that time period, most everyone was able to pick up a lot of business, which created a lot of load on manufacturers to supply product for them to stay open. This also taxed our suppliers as well during this time period of the raw materials to us. Sometimes we had to go to alternate suppliers. Fortunately, some of this product was available, allowed us to continue producing from that standpoint. But the pandemic, I think, is on the downhill swing. Many of our customers that are out there that will buy product in the near future, basically, they're looking at probably this not really coming back into play where they get back to a somewhat normalcy to the end of the second quarter or even into the third quarter of 2021. Most of the events for the spring are now still being pushed off and pushed away due to COVID-19 and the virus is out there. It has continued to grow, and therefore it's making it difficult for our customers to make the decisions to purchase product from us, even though the long-term installations in most situations are keeping our customers in business, and we look forward to dealing with them in the future. If that is it, if you have questions or want to contact me, I can be reached at Michael T. at Rainier, or you can call me via my cell phone, and I'll be more than happy to discuss this with you. If there are any questions, Aaron, please take over for that, and we will move forward.
Sure. Well, thank you, Michael, first and foremost for your presentation. It doesn't actually look like we have any questions. So just as we did before with James, of course, feel free to answer any questions while we wrap this up. Otherwise, you can find Michael hanging out at his table back on the show floor. So thanks again for your presentation, Michael. We're also grateful to Sumbrella, our education sponsor for this event. Coming up next is essentially a free hour, our Showcase Supplier Hour, set aside specifically for networking and for attendees to visit with our sponsors and showcase suppliers. So please take some time to stop by their virtual spaces and say hello and check out all they have to offer. I want to personally thank our sponsors and our showcase suppliers, again, in no particular order: Trivantage, the Miami Corporation, ShopFlow, Strataglass, Herculite, and Sumbrella for taking part today. So we have about, let's see, it's 11:42. I think we have until 1 p.m. Eastern time to visit with showcase suppliers. So feel free to take as much of that time as you want to continue to chat and connect. The event will automatically close out when we reach the end of our allotted time. So I'll send another announcement to everybody who's still here when that happens or when that's about to happen. In the meantime, thanks again, everyone, for being here. And thanks to Michael for your presentation.